All right, man. Well, welcome to Sober Champs podcast, episode number one,
Numero uno.
numero uno. We got Rudy over here on the mic.
Yes, sir.
You got me, Pete, over here on the mic. Just want to welcome you guys to a dream come true today. It's been a dream and an idea in the making for a long time, and we finally got to the point where we're actually recording and getting this thing, getting some content going. Just a little introduction on what we plan to be doing here at Sober Champs. We are planning to document and put people in front of the camera and the microphone that have had an impact on our lives through our sobriety journey and our recovery journey that otherwise people may never see or never meet. And so as we move along, you're going to be introduced to some very special people that we know and we've had an opportunity to be around for a while, and they're going to get an opportunity to share their story and their life story on maybe how sobriety and recovery has affected them or their families. But we thought it was very important to get myself and Rudy on the microphone and in front of the videos first, just to let you guys know a little foundation on where we come from. So as we move through the episodes, you'll understand that we have a story as well. So that being said, Rudy, you got anything you want to say today, man?
Man, I'm just really grateful, happy to be here, happy to be sober. The logo looks amazing. Like the home team, got the Sonics colors up there. We're in Seattle. We're in Pioneer Square, Color Studios. Just feels good. Good to be alive, breathing fresh air, drinking clean water. It's a good day to be alive.
That's what's up, Rude. And yeah, let's make a shout out to Color Studios, man. And Mondo over there, back in the back. He's behind the scenes, but he's a major part of why we're here today. And so just being very grateful for this opportunity, man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, so man, let's start it off like this, man. Rude, you got a sober date or something?
I do. So I have a sobriety birthday, which is August 22nd, 2021. I got sober in the summertime of 21. Haven't had a drink of alcohol, smoke of weed, snort of cocaine, nothing since that date. And I do it one day at a time, and I'm just really, really grateful to have that sobriety date. And I really want to keep that sobriety date for the rest of my life. My goal is to be sober, and when I leave this planet, I want to be sober.
That's what's up, man.
What about you? What's your sobriety date?
My sober day is 9/9/19, September 9th, 2019. It was a Monday. That day forever will be implanted in my soul as one of the worst and one of the greatest days of my entire life. I just I plan to leave this planet sober, and that's the goal, is to keep this date until I die, God willing. So
God willing.
Yeah, God willing. Yeah, man, so we're going to go through a little bit of a journey here. I'm going to interview you, or I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to ask me some questions. But just a little history on you and me. We met in one of the recovery halls out in Burien. And from that day, we were hit and miss a little bit. And then one day, we just started talking a little bit more and interacting a little bit more. And so when we met, you were on a journey of let's see, you had like 90 days maybe or something?
About that, yep.
Yeah, and this was almost 3 years ago or something?
Yep, about 3 years ago.
Three and a half. Yeah, 3.5. And when we had met, what had you been going through up until that point? Like, why did we meet where we met? Had you been struggling?
Yeah, that was a really interesting time in my life. Actually, I had just shut a business down that I had lost a lot of money on, and I actually got involved with a scam artist, and I was on a downward spiral. I had a mental breakdown. I had been sober for some time when I opened up this business, and then throughout the journey of this business, I actually started drinking and using again.
What kind of business was it?
It was an auto detailing business.
Okay.
And throughout the course of opening this business, I started using and trying to run a business in active drug and alcohol use. So it was just a tornado of destruction, and I went on a downward spiral in my life, and I started really being suicidal. I was just like in a bad place mentally. So I reached out to some people that I knew that were in recovery, and they started inviting me to some meetings. And our friend Seth had invited me. There's a meeting in Burien, like you said, and we met there, and that's where I met Pete. And I remember like we were talking outside the meeting before the meeting started, because a lot of these meetings they'll have meetings before the meetings, and we'll socialize and that kind of thing. So I met Pete, and we found out we had similar sobriety birthdays. We were right in that same area code of getting sober as far as our time goes. And I remember the first thing you said to me was, you said, "Let's get it." And we walked into the meeting together, and I was like, and I remember you were wearing some Mariners gear, and I'm a big Seattle Mariners fan myself. So we just kind of hit it off from there, and started talking and texting. And man, it's just been, we haven't looked back on our friendship ever since.
Yeah, that's what's up. You talked about gear, man. What's up? You like gear?
I do. You know, I love nostalgic gear. I wear a lot of Mitchell and Ness and Ebbets Field flannels stuff. I'm wearing this Seattle Rainiers jacket, Seattle Rainiers hat. A lot of people think this S is for a like Stanford or something, but a lot of people don't know that, you know, the Seattle Rainiers, that team kind of holds a deep place in my heart, because I was friends with somebody that played on the Seattle Rainiers. He was an old timer. He's recently passed away, but so the Seattle Rainiers used to have a stadium on Rainier Avenue, and I grew up in Southeast Seattle, and
It's like where the Lowe's is, right?
exactly
Yeah.
where
What's
the
the name of
hardware
that
store.
field?
It was called Six Stadium.
Yeah.
Six Stadium, and this guy Dave, man, he was a very influential person on me when I was a young person, and he was one of the staples on that team, the Seattle Rainiers. And this guy, he's actually it can tie into recovery too, because he was one of the first people. He used to tell me he never drank a drop of alcohol in his whole life,
Ever?
ever in his whole life. And that always really fascinated me, because he was just like he was an athlete from the time he was, you know, he was like a 4-sport athlete in high school and stuff, and then went on to play for the Negro Leagues. He was like roommates with Satchel Paige, and had met Jackie Robinson, and he was a legendary guy in Seattle. When he retired from baseball, he started working for the Seattle Mariners, and he would be at every Mariners game. But I was really fascinated that this guy never drank a drop of alcohol in his whole life, and he was kind of like I kind of adopted him as kind of like a godfather kind of person in my life, where like a mentor type of person. Just the nicest guy in the world, and I don't know. I really am fascinated by people that just never drank at all. Like they never found it necessary to even take one drink of alcohol. You know, and I was watching this documentary one time too about, there's this like old time gangster guy from Baltimore. His name was Little Melvin, and Little Melvin said that he never drank a drop of alcohol, never did any drugs at all. This is what got me. He said, "I never even tasted coffee. I never even took an aspirin." You know, and it's like I hear people that are in recovery that say, you know, I've been sober for 20 years, and I haven't found it necessary to take a drink or a drug in 20 years. And I was sitting there with somebody said that, and somebody next to me leaned over and they said, "But you know the thing about that, it was never necessary in the first place." You know, and that always kind of got to me.
Yeah. I mean, that first of all, for a person like myself, to hear that there are people out there that have never drank in a drink or had a drug, that is absolutely fascinating. Because when in active addiction, there was no way that I was able to um, even fathom that was an option. Like who, and plus I couldn't go back and be like, oh, I've never done any of that, and I've never seen it. Well, I thought I needed that, yeah, and so Yeah, just going back to your gear. Yeah, you got the old school Mariner stuff going on, the Rainiers. Um, so so going. How long ago did you meet him?
So I became friends with Dave. So I started working. There's a golf course here in Seattle. It's called Jefferson Park Golf Course. It's right in inner city Seattle. It's about 5 minutes south of downtown. And this is back in like the early mid 2000s. And there's a bunch of guys that just come up there that are either retired or not working, and they would be hanging out at this golf course. And Dave was one of them. He had just fell in love with golf when he retired from baseball, because a lot of ex athletes they want to keep their competitive juices going, and they discover golf. So this at this golf course, I started working there, and I started playing a little golf with them too.
Hold up. So this is where I get to start asking a little more deeper questions. Well, first of all, being from the central area or the inner city of Seattle, my experience with golf was like one of the premier activities. You had to have kind of a lot of money to like participate in playing golf. And so, what was the intrigue? Because see, for me, I was very involved with like sports that you could just take a ball and like go down the street to the playground and like it was pretty much free. And so, what got you interested in golf though, bro?
Yeah, well, I was always an athlete my whole life. I played baseball was my main number one sport. My grandparents on my mom's side, they were golfers. My grandmother, my grandfather, they actually kind of introduced me to the game originally. But then I started working at the golf course. I was in my late teens, and my dad actually, shout out Pops, he was up there. He's not a golfer, but he was up there one time, and he saw that they were hiring. So he told me, he said, "Why don't you wander up there and see if you can get a job?" And I live in Beacon Hill. I spent a lot of my childhood on Beacon Hill, and the golf course was right there in the area, so it just was kind of a natural fit. So when I started working there, they give you free golf. And I saw all these guys playing golf and having a good time, and they were just seemed like the coolest guys too. Like they were sharply dressed, they drove nice cars, but they were just average guys. A lot of them, either worked for the city or were a post office, but they were just working class, hardworking people that saved their money and they had enough money to play golf, and they were just having so much fun. And they would come up there every day, and sometimes they wouldn't even play golf. They would just hang out at the golf course, and it was a clubhouse. It was like a community center. And I just thought it was really cool. So I just I fit right in. But then I had to learn how to play golf myself.
Right.
And they give you free golf. So I started going to the driving range at the golf course because they give you free buckets of balls when you work there. And I dedicated probably about 2 or 3 years of my life, and this is like in my early 20s, to just getting good at golf so I could play with these guys, and they were doing a lot of gambling.
Okay.
So I saw I could win some money.
All right, sorry to interrupt, but here we go. So, had you drank by this point? Had you been drinking? Had you tapped in yet? Had you got loaded yet? Had you had the taste?
So when I was in high school and before I started working there, I was really into weed. I loved weed. Did some other recreational drugs, but weed was kind of my main go-to because I just didn't really like the way alcohol made me feel when I would drink a little too much and stuff like that. And I was more into weed. But what ended up happening actually when I actually ended up getting really good at golf because I was like, my life kind of felt like a movie a little bit where I was just like, kind of came from, it wasn't really a rags to riches story, but it was like this guy was determined to get good at this sport, and he started winning, and I started winning tournaments, and I actually ended up winning the club championship, which is a very prestigious tournament at that golf course, and I won a couple other championships and such. But what ended up happening for me, because I was working in the restaurant area too, so I was bartending and I was making a lot of money in tips, so I was always having all this cash tips around. I would take that money and I would go gamble. And these guys, it was like almost like a circuit of gambling. They would play at all these other golf courses too. So I got in, and I got in with this group, and pretty much every day, if it was my day off, I was playing golf. If I got off a little early that day, I was out there playing golf. And it wasn't just playing golf; they were out there gambling on the putting green too.
Okay.
And it was like they would make putts, and it was just there was a lot of money to be made. And I mean, this golf course was like kind of like a gambler's paradise. We were gambling on sports, we were playing cards, we were playing dominoes. It was this whole thing. So what happened with me? I would go out and I would win money playing golf, And then at the time too, I was doing a lot of bowling too, because I'm just kind of good at those like kind of recreational sports. So I had a group that we would go bowling in the evening. So I was playing a lot of golf in the daytime and working, and then at night I would go bowling and we would gamble at bowling. And I had a group and we were betting like considerable amounts of money. And what happened was I would win money either gambling or bowling. Then I would take that money, I would go to the bars.
Okay.
And that was the first time I really felt like, well, I could drink as much as I want to because I would have excess amounts of money. And then it started to get really dangerous for me because I would start blacking out. I would start buying everybody drinks at the bar, thinking I was a big shot and stuff just because I had won some money. Meanwhile, the next day I might lose that money gambling too. But the days I won, I would go spend big at the bar. And even days I lost, I would go spend big at the bar. It just kind of became a thing because it was like, well, I could have lost more money. And the money just started feeling kind of like monopoly money. Like I'll make it back the next day. And it was just, I was in this cycle for like probably a good 5 or 6 years. And, but my drinking got so bad, I started blacking out, falling down. I would fall and hit my head. And like one night I ended up in the ER with 6 stitches under my head just because I was, I would go spend like $400 or $500 at the bar, and then just be totally blacked out, having to sleep at friends' houses. I ended up getting kicked out of an apartment I was in because my apartment kind of turned into an after-hours spot, and I got too many noise complaints. And it just began to get really out of control for me because I realized that my disease of alcoholism kicked in. At one point, I passed that stage of being a normal drinker to being an alcoholic.
Yeah. So there. You say you fell and you hit your head. Like, so that must have been a big deal. And like, wouldn't you have stopped drinking after you hit your head and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a normal person that would be a big wake up call for him. But I stopped for a couple weeks after that.
Okay.
You know,
What kind of injury was it? Did you just?
well, I'm sure I got a concussion for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, this would happen to me when I would start drinking. It would usually be when the bars or clubs would let out, and everybody would, pile outside, and we would be smoking either cigarettes or weed or something, and I would just fall.
Oh, face. Oh,
I
you
would
just
fall
go
face
or back.
forward
Yeah. Okay.
in front of people
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Just pass out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would just get lightheaded from
Bam.
smoking something, and it was just a thing where it was like people kind of got used to it.
Right.
Like I would just, that's Rudy, he fell again.
Right.
But this particular time, my head the concrete just caught my head.
Okay.
And it was just, it wasn't a slow fall. I would do these like fast falls. You know, so it was really scary. Like even now talking about it, I kind of have PTSD about it because I just remember I would be standing, and then all of a sudden the concrete. Thank you.
No problem.
The concrete would just be coming up on my head
Ooh.
like real fast.
Okay.
But this particular time I remember it was St. Patrick's Day weekend, and I was with a friend, and we were on Capitol Hill, and we had all been drinking, and I was buying a lot of people shots, and it was just one of these wild nights, and I remember it was snowy outside too, and I fell, hit my head, got a giant gash, and I wouldn't stop bleeding. And my friend was freaking out because he's just like, and he ends up calling my wife, and he's like, I don't know what to do. He won't stop bleeding. And she's like, well, you need to call ambulance. So he calls the ambulance. Ambulance comes. I won't get in the ambulance because I'm blacked out drunk, and I'm like trying to run away from the ambulance. This is all the story I hear because I don't remember any of this. Eventually, they get me in the ambulance. They take me to Swedish Hill, and I won't let them stitch me up. I'm like blacked out. I'm incoherent. They had to have like 2 nurses, my friend, and like they had to have like 4 or 5 people like hold me down while they stitch me up. Meanwhile, I don't remember any of this. My wife is up crying she had work the next morning. She's sitting there in the ER crying, and it should have been a very traumatic event that kind of woke me up. But, it really wasn't enough. And I could have died that night, if I was bleeding out and it was snowy outside. So I could have passed out in the bushes somewhere, bled out, got hypothermia. It could have been real bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, how long ago was that? You think?
Oh.
What'd you say?
That was probably 2000. That was probably like 2015, 2016 era.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so it's 2022. So you went on drinking and using for a little bit longer, and all right. So here we're gonna get to the bread and butter. Like, what was the moment that you needed to stop, or at least try to stop? Like, what was that like moment of clarity for you?
Mm. Yeah, other people saw the problem in me before I saw it. I did not think I was an alcoholic. I did not think I have a drinking problem. Because all my friends were doing the same thing I was doing, and my life seemed like the normal life. I was hanging out by this time. I was hanging out with a lot of skateboarders and graffiti artists and rappers, and like these are all people that didn't have regular day jobs. They were kind of misfits, and they partied as hard as me. So I didn't think that, and that's why I like to hang out with them because we would pull all nighters, and it was just I was like, yeah, these are my people. Um, but what ended up happening, I ended up getting a real job. I was working at a bank, and trying to get my life together. But I was still drinking. I was still golfing a lot. I was still bowling a lot. Was still in that lifestyle. And man, just like honestly, like a blessing from God, I met a man there. He was one of the clients at the bank, and in the banking job, you can come in a little hungover. It was banker's hours. We didn't start work till like 10 a.m. So I could still go out the night before and come in, and I might have been looking a little disheveled, but I was doing my job. And this guy, thank you God, like he came in and he would wear a sobriety. He had a necklace with a sobriety coin around his neck, and it said that he had 10 year. It was like a 10-year sobriety coin, and I was fascinated by that. And we would have conversations about recovery, and he invited me to come to his recovery hall where he goes to, and he actually ended up setting me up with one of my first spiritual advisors to get on this recovery path. Um, but I still couldn't stay sober. But I did end up. That was my first kind of dabble into recovery and sobriety, and I know that it was like kind of he was like he is and will always be like an angelic figure to me that kind of they came and found me and brought me to where the recovery was.
Yeah. So speaking on that, had you ever been into another like recovery hall, another 12-step room before, or was that your first experience going into one of those?
So my mom has been in Al-Anon
Okay.
for maybe like 8 or 9 years now,
Yeah.
and so she had seen it in me pretty early on that I was in need. So she invited me to an Al-Anon meeting one time, and I remember I just did not like it. I think I might have left early, and then she encouraged me to go to AA, and I think I went to one meeting, and I maybe stayed for 5 minutes
Yeah.
and then left.
Yeah.
So I had a few like little like taste of it early on,
Mm-hmm.
but what really got me was like this, and I always thought, recovery rooms were like just a bunch of like depressed people that sit around and smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. And but the thing about this gentleman that came into the bank and that I met, and he had a gold chain, and it wasn't a small gold chain. It was a pretty big gold chain with a sobriety coin on it. And he drove a nice car,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he was cool. He
Right.
was just a really cool guy, and
Yeah.
and that's what really attracted me to the program and into recovery halls was like I was just attracted that people could actually like he seemed to be living his life, not like his life was over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you say you couldn't stay sober. So you had a spiritual advisor, and you're probably going to some 12-step meetings and things like that. And well, what were your struggles at that point? Like, were you still hanging with the guys and at the golf course? Were you
Hmm.
what were your struggles to like try to overcome to stay sober? Like, you go to these meetings, and then you would go out of the meetings, and then you would have to live your life, um, life on life's terms, right? And so, what were some struggles that you had to like go through to try to stay sober?
Yeah, I mean, a big one was like hanging out with my old friends. I would get sober and I would come around and I would go. I would even still be going out to nightclubs, bars, um, parties, barbecues, all that stuff, doing the same things that I would do when I was drinking, but I would just try to do them sober now. Um, and it would work for a while. Um, but the thing is, like, I was always like trying to get my friends sober,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I know the feeling. Yeah.
and it was like frustrating because like, and I, yeah,
Nobody would, huh? Is that what was happening?
nah, they wouldn't come with me, bro.
Nah.
They wouldn't
They
do
were
it.
like, nah, you can come meet us at the
Yeah,
club, and
right.
yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
you
and
just kept doing that,
I kept doing that, you know, and the old saying goes like they're gonna get me drunk before I get them sober,
right, right.
you know, and that's what would always happen, you know. Eventually, I mean, my life would get better,
Oh,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
I would like magically I stopped drinking and using drugs,
And
and my
things
life
get
gets
better.
better, you
Hey.
know. So, but then I would start doing less of what got me sober,
Right,
you know. I
right.
would kind of feel
Because
like I could.
your ass was kicked, and then so
Mhm.
you're willing to do anything to get right or get better, and so what happens is you're willing, things start to get better, and then all of a sudden what happens?
Yeah, yeah. You start doing less of what was helping you, and you think you need less of that, and it's backwards thinking, you know. And that's what I'm trying to do this time is actually the longer I stay sober, I know I need more and more of what butters my bread, as you like to say. I know I need more of that, not less of that. And it's just been but I had to go through it to go through it,
Right,
you know, and I had to bump my head a few times, literally and figuratively, to understand that, you know, where my place in society is. Because I always had this like, I don't know, I guess it's like a Peter Pan mentality kind of thing where the old days were a lot of fun. Like I'm not gonna say I didn't have
come on,
fun, you
come on.
know, and
Yeah, that's the truth, right?
yeah, 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 I did, man. Like I honestly did, but those were the old days,
Right.
you know, and it's like cheers to those old
Man,
days.
cheers to the old days,
Yeah,
man. That's what
you know what
we
I'm
got some
saying?
water in our cup. Cheers it up.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So
So real quick
yeah.
with the old days, and I think one of the misconceptions that I found when I see or I talk to people that like, well, I had a lot of fun back in the day, yeah, and then there was this point for me that like my best friend, alcohol and drugs, turned on me,
Mhm.
and it was no longer like that fun, and I was chasing something to just be well, and so or just like fit in, or there was a lot of reasons why I needed to drink other than what I thought was fun, because I kept chasing that first one that you know that one that you just wow, this is so great, and but then it never was like for me it was never like the first one again,
Mm.
and so I was but yeah, continue. So you were just you were talking about how you went into the rooms, you went back out with friends, and so it sounds like you've had relapses or a relapse or two. Speak on that. What's up?
Yeah, absolutely. Relapse is part of my story. I've strung together like I would get 8 months of sobriety together, which at the time was like that's like a huge deal.
It's a miracle.
You know what I'm saying?
Miracle.
8 months without what do they say? One of our friends like I say, no sippy sippy, no toki toki, no nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but then I would like go back out, have to do some more research, you know, as they like to say. Then I would get like 6 months. One time I had 21 months. This is a few years back. Things were going really good. This is you know, I started
We knew each other.
yeah,
Right?
by this
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
this is where we had gotten sober together,
Right.
and
Right.
we were on this journey together. And I stopped going to meetings. I stopped really working with my spiritual advisor. I stopped talking to a lot of people in recovery. I started hanging around my old friends again. I just thought that I had this thing figured out, and I could just live my life sober now. And I could still go do all the old things that I was doing. And it actually was July 4th. Some friends were having a barbecue down on the lake.
What year was this?
This is 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, so a couple years ago.
Okay.
And you know, I was looking forward to coming and celebrating the 4th of July. It's a holiday. And I started kind of making up some stories in my head. I was kind of premeditating this relapse because it's
Yeah, I remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I
you
would
were
talk to
talking.
you
You were
about it.
talking about like, yeah, I don't know, man. I think I can drink.
Right.
I think if I just shoot at it one more time, I'm gonna give it a shot. I've been off it for a minute. Yeah. So take us through that day, or like you said, leading up, there was a lot of discussion with other people and even yourself that was talking you kind of into like, let me just shoot, let me try one more time.
Yeah. That's what happens. Is this inner self talk, where they say the disease starts talking to you. If I'm not spiritually fit, like one of my friends likes to say, like the foundation of my recovery, if I'm not spiritually fit, my disease will find a crack or a crevice in the foundation of my recovery and wiggle its way through there. And that's what happened, or they call them lurking notions. I just got this idea that maybe I could drink like normal people and I can control and manage my drinking. That's what they say, like, is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker, that I can control and manage my drinking. And the fact that I could control and enjoy it. Because for me, if I'm not controlling my drinking, that's when I'm enjoying it. But if I'm trying to control my drinking, I'm not going to enjoy it.
Right. For real.
Yeah. So that's where I had this obsession on the 4th of July, and I laid some ground rules for myself that I can drink if this and this is in place.
Let's talk about the ifs. Go ahead.
Yeah. So number one rule I have for myself, I'm not going to drive drunk.
Yeah.
Number one rule for myself, I'm not going to do any illicit drugs.
Right.
I'm just going to drink.
Right.
And I'm just going to have a few drinks.
Yeah.
Because I'm driving.
Right.
I get to the barbecue, and
first of all, let's just stop.
Yes.
A few drinks because I'm driving. Keep going.
Yes.
All
yeah.
right.
This is the insanity around alcohol.
Yeah.
So I also was telling myself that I'm just gonna drink tequila.
Yeah.
And because I never really been a tequila.
What kind of tequila?
Well, if in my mind I was thinking like I'm gonna if somebody has like some nice tequila.
Nice.
Some like Don Julio or some Patron, or I never went through a phase, like, because I went through my vodka phase. I went through my whiskey phase. Jameson was like my drink. I went through, I even went through like a wine phase where I was drinking rosé all day. So I've been through the whole stages and experimentation of maybe this drink I won't go over the top with it. So I was at the barbecue and the whole thing about tequila, I'm thinking like it's 100% natural. It's agave.
Oh, it's organic.
It's organic.
It's healthy for you.
Comes from the earth.
Come on, man. Speak it.
Comes from a cactus. Like, what's wrong with that?
Cactus,
You know what I'm saying? But,
it's healthy.
Yeah.
You're going to take it and go to the gym. It's like a pre-workout or something.
That's my insanity, at play. So at the barbecue, somebody they're passing around vodka. They're passing around this and that, and I'm passing on it. Somebody even has some like sparkling champagne, and it was like it was a holiday. You know?
And there was nothing yet. There was nothing,
and then I remember very specifically, I'm sitting on the grass, and somebody pulled a bottle of some Don Julio out of a cooler, and it was kind of a hot day, and it was just.
It was a beautiful day, if I recall.
It was a really nice 4th of July.
Yeah.
Everybody was in a good mood. Wasn't a cloud on the horizon, and I was in a good mood, So that's really what took me out, seeing that Don Julio, and I said, let me get a shot of that. And I remember I had one friend there, and I'll never forget this. My buddy Jordan, he was like, "What are you doing?" Because everybody knew I was sober. They knew I had almost 2 years of sobriety, and my buddy Jordan was like, "Well, you're tripping. What are you doing? You got all this sobriety time." But I remember a lot of my other friends there, they didn't say nothing, It's like, he's a grown man, like, let him do what he needs to do, and I just remember, like, taking that drink, and I immediately felt like it was a bad idea, immediately. But the thing for me is, like, I didn't stop there. I proceeded to get drunk at that barbecue, and I remember nobody else was getting drunk, really. That's the one thing that I started noticing, that I'm the one that was always getting way over the top drunk. Everybody started to go home, and I was like, what's going on? Like, I'm thinking like the party is just starting, but everybody else is kind of packing up the barbecue. They're going to different other little spots that I'm not invited to, like, you know what I'm saying?
Why would you not be invited, Rudy? Right, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right,
and I'm starting to feel worse and worse.
Yeah.
And then that's the point where I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna get good and drunk now.
Yeah.
So I did go to like another after party.
Weren't you like holding on to garbage or something? Like,
Yeah, so like this is what really like put a pit in my stomach was because I had this vision. I had planned out this relapse essentially.
right,
I premeditated it,
right,
and I had this vision of how it was gonna go. And if it was at this barbecue, it was gonna be like a music video, and it was just gonna be so popping, and
yeah,
there was just gonna be just so much fun, and it was gonna last for hours and hours and go deep into the night. It was just this whole thinking of what. Cause I've had those type of days before where it was like I've had those fun times where like the party never stopped, you know. But in this case, everybody's packing up, and I'm sitting there. At a barbecue, they got to get all the trash together in a trash bag, and everybody's leaving, and I'm like, it's like me and one other person there, and then one of my friends is walking away, and he said, "Well, Rudy, why don't you get the trash?" You could be left with the trash. And so then I'm just sitting there holding this bag of trash, half drunk, feeling like shit now.
Fuck.
You know what I'm saying?
Fuck. The mental picture that I'm imagining just sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible,
Right.
And this is just, I just threw 21 months of sobriety away.
Right,
I have all these people in recovery that love me,
Come
and they're
on.
going to be disappointed.
Come on.
My
Yeah.
family's going to be disappointed.
Oh, shit.
My wife, my mother,
Yeah.
everybody. I just disappointed the whole world, it felt like. So then, but like I said,
And most of all, you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's when it's like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna get real drunk
fuck
now.
It. The fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. We're in now. So now, yeah, go ahead. What happened? So now you got super loaded. You didn't have your 2 drinks and then drive home. You're loaded, and so now you're getting ready to be on the move. So now take me through that part.
Yeah. So I get in my car.
Yeah.
I start driving. It turns into a long night. I end up going to a friend's house. They have like a rooftop party kind of thing, and then I end up staying out like super late, like probably 4, 5 a.m. I'm guessing. I end up actually coming back home, sleeping at home. But I remember just waking up the next day with the worst hangover.
Yeah, but hold up. Were you looking for your thing? Like, you had these things that you weren't gonna do. Were you looking for the coke? And
yes.
Looking
So the drug addiction kicked in.
Okay.
I was looking for cocaine. I didn't find any that night.
Yeah.
But I was on the prowl for it. I drove and drunk. These are all things that were like absolutely not gonna do these things.
Yeah.
So I get home. I sleep maybe a few hours. I wake up in the morning. My wife is terribly upset and disappointed, and I end up going to my recovery hall. The very first thing I did.
Yeah. I remember that day.
Yes.
I remember being called by you, and and what you had said to me was, I remember I was standing in my kitchen, and I remember you, hey Pete, what's up, man? What's going on? I was like, Rude, what's happening, baby? And you were like, yeah. Man, I went out last night. And I was like, yeah, man, how was it, man? Yeah, nah. And you were like, no. Like, I stepped out last night. And I was like, what? Well, in the terms that I understood that meant you might have went and got loaded. And you were like, yeah, man, I went to, and he told me the story. And I remember you telling me where you were. And you were at the hall, at one of the recovery halls, our recovery hall. And it broke my heart. I remember that day like it was yesterday. Cause what happened was we were on this journey together, and here we are. The day before, we were still sober. Like, we were on the 4th of July, we were sober. 3rd of July, we sober. And so here we are as a team going through this journey, and then all of a sudden you call me and you're talking about you went and got loaded. Well, fuck you. How about that? That's fucked up.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Now, what I said was, well, bro, you're in the right place, because that's where, thank God you're in the right place, because not everybody makes it back.
Right.
Not everybody makes it to the bench to sleep, that back bench to hang out and chill and hear meetings. And so I remember getting off the phone and just crying with my wife. And I was just like, man, this is it broke my heart, but he's in the right place. I remember calling our spiritual advisor and being like, yo, man, what's up? What are we doing? Well, how does this work?
Yeah.
I was so fresh and clean. I didn't understand how we were supposed to operate when this happens. And I remember calling you back and being like, go talk to him, go talk to him. And yeah. So anyway,
Yeah, yeah. I remember all that. But the number one thing is like I had a place to go. And I remember when I got there, our recovery hall that we go to is not. There's not always meetings going on. It's also like as a place for people to gather and just have fun with each other. So I knew I could go there in the middle of the day, and there would be some people there that could understand me and have been through what I've been through.
come on.
And at this point, there was no meetings going on, but there was a domino game going on. And I remember just sitting around that domino table. I don't even remember who was there. I don't know if I knew any of them, but I just remember pulling up a chair. I didn't play dominoes, but I was just sitting there, like hungover, like feeling like shit, and just like feeling so like I was in a safe place with these guys that were just sitting around. They were all sober. They were playing dominoes, and I was just like, yeah, this is where I need to be. Because the minute I walk in there, I'm just like, I feel like I'm home, like a baseball player that slides into home. Like I made it. Because one of my friends that I saw there that day, he said, good. At least you didn't die. That was what he told me.
Yeah.
He didn't give me any advice. He was
Right.
just like, at least you didn't die. You didn't kill yourself. So I mean that's why, I just feel like super lucky and blessed because like all the times that I've driven drunk, blacked out, I've heard stories of me driving drunk where like one time one of my friends called me the next day after I was out drinking, and he was like, "Dude, I saw you driving the wrong way down Second Avenue downtown at like 3 a.m. coming from Belltown."
Come on.
And then it's like then I would have these flashes. You remember like having these kind of like it was like Kodak moment flashes of like, oh, I do remember that, just a little split second of it.
Yeah, when they remind you what you did last night, and then you try to like, and then your mind goes into the deep area of whatever part of that brain is where you're
Right.
like, oh, so that was real, or I kind of remember that part, and so yeah, there's a lot of guilt and shame in that area, and fear. For me, when I go to those when people tell me about what I did and I can't remember the whole story, that's one of the scariest parts of my active use was when I couldn't remember what I did.
Right.
No idea. And so yeah. So you get that day. What was that? The 5th of
That would have
6th
been the
of
5th
July.
of July. That would have
So
been
now
the
the
5th of
6th
July.
the 5th of
It
yeah,
was the
right,
day
right,
after the
right, the
4th.
5th. So what's your sober date?
August 22nd.
Okay.
So of that same year. So it took me about a month and a half to get fully sober again.
Yeah.
I continued to go out. I continued to party and pretty much burn my life to the ground within about a month and a half. And by the time I got back in the rooms, I was so badly mangled, probably physically and mentally and spiritually that I was done, and I look back at my relapse honestly, and I think that it wasn't very complicated. I just wasn't done drinking. So a lot of people, might try to like philosophize their relapse and go back to childhood and this happened and that happened. I just wasn't done drinking. I wanted to have some more fun as I thought was fun. I wanted to relive the moments of my old days like we were talking about. And I just had to go through some more pain, because for me like pain is a great motivator, and alcohol is like I've heard people say like I got driven into the recovery halls by the lashes of alcohol, and alcohol is a great motivator. It beats us into a state of reasonableness for myself. It beat me into a state of surrender. And this time I was just really, really willing to do the work. Like I knew my life was on the line. Forget the career, forget the family. I mean, all that's important, but my life is like the number one thing that I'm trying to fucking save here.
Right. Yeah, so it took you about a month, and man, that rings a bell, right? I remember being able to. It wasn't that I was like afraid to die; it was that I was afraid to live. See, like dying was like okay, like it's kind of scary, but like this is the path I'm on. Like what other what other choice is there? I don't understand. I don't know. There's a solution to this problem. Like, I can't figure this out. And so, what were some of the things that you did to kind of set yourself up with this new sobriety birthday, and like,
Mm.
what did you do to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I really started hanging on the coattails of people that have done this dance for a long time, and just people that I was attracted to. And I just, because when I first like started coming into recovery, I was like, I don't need any new friends. I already have my core group of friends. I've lived in Seattle my whole life, so I figured I just want to get sober. I don't need a whole new community of people. But this last time around, I said, you know what? These people have what I want. I'm gonna start hanging around them, and I'm gonna start doing what they do. And I started going to functions. There would be parties, but and these were like sober parties, sober barbecues. Were good food, by the way. And just people having fun, and just because that was really important for me is like I needed, because I like to party, I like to have fun. I'm a fun loving guy, and I don't want to be dreary and drab and come to sobriety and feel like my life is over. And now this time it really feels like my life is just beginning, and it's just amazing feeling to feel that because I have this whole new core group of friends, and I consider my family now. Like, you're one of my family now. I mean that. And like there's other people that we connect with and just start doing things with, and calling people on the phone. I have about I would say,
Come on, man, speak it, man.
yeah.
Yeah, for all those out there, this guy is one of the most connected cats there is in the sobriety community and that I've ever met. And go ahead.
In a
yeah.
short period of time.
Short period of time.
I mean, 20. I probably got about 20 or 30 men in my phone that are on speed dial. That will pick up the phone at any time of the night, any time of day, and always give their time freely to like just talk with you and just share their journey. And it's inspirational for me because now I'm trying to be one of those guys that I'm in somebody else's phone list, and they're calling me on speed dial when they're struggling with this disease of alcoholism or drug addiction. So it's just like that's what I did is I inserted myself. Somebody I like. They use the phrase I dealt myself in. Because that's how it has to go. Like nobody's gonna do it for you. You have to insert yourself into places and groups of people that you want to be like, and that's what I did. That's what I didn't do before. And it's like the whole phrase like I found out what works by what doesn't work, and just going to everything was there for the taking for me, but I had to take that step forward. And one of my best friends in recovery, my friend Larry, shout out Larry, he always
What's
says,
up, Larry?
if you take one foot forward, others will take two steps for you. And that's been so true for me. I just had to put a little effort on my part to get the ball rolling, and then others really just been picking up the slack for me and filling in the gaps. And it's just been like I stepped into a whole new world, because it's just like a whole different society, because I always thought, like I said, my life was a normal one, drinking till 4 or 5 a.m., making that mad dash to the bus, to the gas station, because in Seattle, the bars close at 2, so they're doing last call at like 1:30. And if you're drinking like me, that's not enough drinking time.
Right.
So we got to go run,
You gotta make sure you got enough for till 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and normal people, I'm learning, don't drink like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was normal.
Hey, Mondo, do you drink? How do you drink, man? What's going on over there, man?
Yeah, dude, I do drink. What's crazy? I didn't really drink a lot until I moved down here, and just being in the city and just being around a lot of artists, like what Rudy was saying, in the scene. It's a big influence for sure.
How long you been in the town?
About like 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's definitely like, it's like you get caught up in the vibe, you know, like you're out and about, and then before you know it, yeah, you're out late. And you know what you said that really resonated. It's like you're chasing that first time, you know, where you were like, wow, this is fucking crazy. But for sure, it's definitely a huge distraction, you know, because at the end of the day, like there's so many detours when you're on a mission, and if you don't have a good solid, if you don't constantly kind of check the roadmap and the blueprint, then you can easily end up in a party and, you know, doesn't stop.
That's right. Come on, man. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, this city, Seattle. I mean, it's the home of grunge. It's the home of Jimi Hendrix. I mean, we like to get loaded here, you know, and something about this weather, you know.
Speak on that.
You know, it's like it's gray and rainy and cloudy for 9 months out of the year, and it gets dark at 4 p.m. in the wintertime. For some reason, like, then when the sun is out, you know, that's when it's like everybody's trying to party, everybody's trying to kick it, because we only have this short window of actual nice weather, and it's just dealing with different emotions, you know, like that seasonal depression thing. I think that's real. You know, I never really thought that I was really affected by that, but now that I look back at it, you know, living in Seattle my whole life, I do think the winters kind of wear on you, and you just need that kind of emotional stabilizer. At least I thought I needed it.
Come on. Right.
So, you know.
Yeah, so that being said, so here you are today, man. Like, what do you do in your daily life that like helps you stay on this track? And like what Mondo said about the roadmap, like how do you keep a healthy roadmap to get to that pillow sober? You feel me? You wake up on the pillow sober, you got a whole 24 hours in between, and how do you end up on that pillow again for one more day sober? What are some of the things that you do to you know, stay?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just being like 100% sober, like not even like any, you know, obviously no alcohol, but, you know, no weed. You know, weed is big here in Seattle.
Right.
You know, and like I used to think, because I've tried that before, where I'm like, I'm not gonna drink, but I'm gonna still smoke my weed.
Right.
You know, and that never worked out
Right.
good for me, because I consider myself a real alcoholic. That I have to be completely abstinent from all mind altering drugs. Granted, I do drink coffee, which is absolutely a mind altering drug.
Come on,
for
man,
me.
get fired on some good coffee. Yeah,
but I'm not gonna burn my life down to the ground
Isn't that
from
true?
drinking some coffee.
Yeah.
You know, and I had thought that about weed too. Like I'm not causing a lot of damage out here from smoking my weed, but I could just never just smoke weed. It would always lead me back to drinking again.
Right.
So that's for me. But back to your question, waking up in the morning, I have to start my day with some prayer and meditation.
Okay.
I usually do either 5 or 10 minutes meditation. I don't do it perfect. I'm not gonna say I do it every single day, but I gotta get locked in the morning, because otherwise it just feels like the day is attacking me instead of me attacking the day and getting locked in. Cause man, I can sit there in the morning and like one of my other friends like to say, have coffee with God and get spiritually tapped in. But the minute I walk out of that door, then it's on.
Right.
You know,
game on.
Yeah.
Right.
So I got to get locked in before that.
Right.
I can't just tumble out of bed and just try to battle my way through the day. So that's been a huge thing for me. Then also throughout the day, I've been using this little trick called pause.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm feeling agitated and I'm feeling like emotionally unstable, you know, I don't do this perfect all the time either, but I try to pause, you know, before I either say or do something that I'm going to regret or have to make an apology for. Because my mood does go way up and down, you know, like a roller coaster, but I can kind of these days, and it's taking a lot of work, I can get back to center, back to that mode of just being at peace and serenity with the world, and just being able to live in the moment, not feel like my mind is racing towards what I need to be doing or what I previously was doing. You know, like right now, I feel very serene with you right now. You know, me and you have this friendship, this brothership where, I feel very comfortable with you. I mean, that's what this program has given me too, is just being able to just, my I'm speaking about my recovery and my daily program. What I do is I'm able to be comfortable in my own skin,
Mm.
and not feel like I need all this approval and everything. It's still in there, but it's gotten a lot better. Because like what I've discovered through being sober is that I'm actually a really caring, kind, sensitive, loving person. And I had gotten away from that when I was drinking. And I think a lot of that was because alcohol really transformed me, because I never knew it was okay to be sensitive.
Right.
It's okay to be kind and loving and caring towards others. I always thought I had to be tough. I had to be cool. I had to be 2 feet taller. Just these things that alcohol, I would start getting a couple drinks in me, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm 2 feet taller.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like I'm the coolest guy. I'm the toughest guy. But in reality, that's not what gets you far in this world. It might get you far in that moment. But so that's what's just the gift of this thing is just feeling like I feel so comfortable with you, like I do with my own family, with, even more than my own family. When I connect with other alcoholics that have been through the ringer like me and came out the other side, it's like that whole thing that, like, it feels like we were on some ship that crashed and the lifeboats came and got us, and now we're sitting on the lifeboat together. Like, I can't believe we fucking survived that.
Come on.
You know what I'm
Come
saying?
on. Yeah. The Titanic was going down, bro.
It was going down.
It was going down. We just kept switching chairs. Like, well, this might be the one. This might. Yeah. So
you know what I'm saying? So that's why I just feel so lucky and blessed. And like every day I wake up, man, I thank, my loving Creator, and I just know that I'm not privileged. I don't have a, I guess you would say, like, entitlement to be alive even. So that's just like the blessing of every day. So I just try to honor that by staying present, because like that's the biggest gift we have. I mean, it's cliche, but that's why they call it the present, because it's such a gift.
Come on. Give me some gems out here, baby.
You know what I'm saying? You probably heard that before, but I'll say it again. But yeah, it's a good day to be alive, and I don't know, I try to just do what's in front of me.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
and that's my Creator leads me down a path that I'm supposed to be on. Right. Like even doing this podcast was just like, that's what I was called to do.
Right.
That's what we were called to do.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do.
Right. That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. So do you work out? Do you hit the gym? Do you how about this? What are some struggles that you might go through that you're willing to share on this on the microphone?
Oh yeah, a lot of struggles. I struggle with relationships. People that I care about, that I want to have good relationships with. Family members, friends. That's one thing I really struggle with. Kind of like dancing around, really, really trying to dive in and have the best possible relationship with every human being on this planet that I can have, especially people that I care about. Because like through my drinking and even in sobriety, I've done some things that really hurts people. Selfishness. I have a lot of I think about me all the time. So a lot of times that's hurt other people when I'm only thinking about myself. And I'm definitely not perfect. I'm not some fucking angelic being that is like God's gift to earth or anything. All I know is I'm trying to be better as a son, as a husband, all these things, that, as a friend, everything that I can do as a brother. Like I want to be that, but I fall short a lot of the times, and if I cannot show people the kind of care that they really deserve over time. And I'm really trying to get better at that. Because I wake up in the morning and I'm just thinking about me. You know what I'm saying? And but through getting tapped in with my meditation practice and stuff, it helps me get outside of myself and think about who can I help today. you know, and that's one of my prayers in the morning. I say, God, show me who I can help today. Who can I be of service? Please put them in front of me, you know, and it's usually, I don't have to look too far. You know what I'm saying?
They start wandering up and stuff like that,
Man,
right?
A lot of people out here, man, you know, so yeah, it just feels good, man, to be on that path, trying to actually help others and not think about myself, but it's not easy.
No, it's progress, not perfection. Is there anything that I don't know. At this point, we kind of took you through the journey. What's up? Yeah, is there anything you want to share with the group about yourself that you know?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's out there struggling, you know, I would say just grab onto some people's coattails that are doing this thing already. You know, get you a friend, man. I wish everybody could have a friend like Pete.
Come
honestly.
on, man. Rude. Same thing, man.
You know, this guy is like the best friend a human being could ever possibly have. You know, and that's on the record.
On the record,
man.
Hey,
You know
Rude.
what I'm saying?
I love you.
You know,
Man.
we're live.
I
you
love
know,
you.
You know, and I love you too, brother.
I love you too.
You know, and to just be able to say that to a grown man, you know, I love you.
Right.
You know, that's one thing I struggled with, you know, over the years. But I've found, and through having these friendships, you know, and Pete is right here in front of us, but I got about 5 or 6 Petes in my life right now.
Come on.
You know, and that's just amazing because most people don't even have one Pete.
Come on, man.
You know, so that's just like such a blessing. And there's a lot of people out here that are willing to help people that are struggling with drugs and alcohol. I'm one of them. I'm willing to help, like, you know, but you know, like I was said before, like sometimes you got to take one foot forward, others will take 2 steps for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It's just like this journey that I'm on has been just like, I've only been sober now for this time, going on 20 months. This month will have 20 months, but it's been the best 20 months of my life for sure. It's been a lot of pain. It's been a lot of growth. But you know, that's where the growth comes from, is like, I got to go through it. I can't go around it. You know, and like I was saying earlier, like taking that when I was younger and I was drinking, you know, probably started like in middle school. I always thought that was like a necessary thing. But now that I look back at it, and that's why I circle back to like these people that I was talking about, they never had a drop of alcohol in their whole life. And they lived happy, successful lives, very successful, honestly. And that still fascinates me. Like, I can't go back and say my life I lived where I've never drank a drop of alcohol or did any drugs or anything. But that thing fascinates me because it's like, I don't have any kids, but if I have a kid, you know, I would pray that, you know, they could live a life like that, where, you know, there's so many other tools out here that we can utilize, besides drugs and alcohol, you know, and which it is a tool, you know, that actually, I look back at it, you know, alcohol wasn't my problem. It was my solution. And, you know, just looking back, I know that I could have lived a successful life even if I didn't drink, if I didn't take one drop of alcohol. You know, there's some other tools at my feet I could have picked up.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're not gonna blame the alcohol itself.
No, I can't blame the alcohol. To be honest, alcohol beat me into that state of surrender, where I'm actually grateful. That's what people hear. They say I'm a grateful alcoholic. You know, I'm grateful I went through all the pain, because then I wouldn't have gotten to this place I'm at today. Right. You know,
we would have never crossed paths.
No.
Like, we would have never met each other.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where I'm just like, I also can't blame the world for my problems.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing that I've learned over this time, is that, you know, if I'm waiting on the world to change, you know, then I'm up shit's creek, because the world's not going to change to what I believe the world should be doing. You know.
Yeah, that it's like that spiritual being having a human experience, right? So it's this idea that we can't control everybody. And we all sometimes can't control like circumstances, people, places, or things, and so yeah, that's one of the things that I had to struggle with was like, well, why didn't it was always about all these other people, places. Like I just didn't get the luck of the draw. I didn't. It was always everybody else's fault for why I was in the predicament I was. Yeah, so I totally get that, man. Rudy, I want to really give you a big thanks, man, my brother. Thanks for coming out and being so vulnerable with us today, man, and here at Sober Chance for our first episode. Being a co-host, man, our emphasis was to try to get the audience and our family out there to know about you, man, and thanks for coming in and being so honest and sharing your journey on where we are today. And I love you, and let's get it going, man. Let's go.
I appreciate you, Pete, and yeah, all I could do is share my truth, and I got to release it and just put it out there. I'm excited to be on this journey with you. I'm excited for everybody to come on this journey. Sober Champs. Hopefully, it's the beginning of something great, and just we're gonna do it one day at a time.
Come on, man. One day at a time, man. All right, man. Everybody have a good one. See you guys later.